For more exclusive content from CNBC Crypto Trader, hit the subscribe button now. This episode of Crypto Trader is brought to you by iCapital. This week's Crypto Trader comes to you from none other than incredible Israel. Israel has all the makings of a blockchain nation, an education system that's obsessed with math, science and engineering, an army that is based on intelligence and cryptography, and a business environment that's built to foster entrepreneurship. Yet with all of this, we've heard very little from blockchain startups in Israel. We came here to find out why. Now, Israel is a tiny country, the size of New Jersey, just 7 million people. You have Jerusalem, its spiritual and political capital, and Tel Aviv, its tech hub. Israel develops such tech as voice over IP, instant messaging, and controls 25% of the cybersecurity market. Every crypto trader seems to be asking, when will the institutional money flow into crypto? Well, in this episode, you'll see that institutional capital, investment, and advisory may already be here. First up, iCapital. They'll be showing us around the Israeli crypto scene. One of the biggest up-and-coming funds in Israel, which is a hybrid between venture capital and blockchain.
Hi, Ron, welcome. Hi.
Ladies, I'm so excited to be here in Israel. What can I expect from my trip here?
Well, I think it's a super exciting time to be in Israel. Israel has been working on blockchain technologies for many years, and I remember when we started 5-6 years ago, it was still all very much underground. Now you see so many projects and talented people coming out and looking to take an active role in shaping this technology.
So there seems to be a lot of hype here in Israel about Israeli projects, but when you leave Israel, you don't hear much about Israeli projects. Why do you think that is?
I think Israel's strong suit was never marketing. We were always kind of good at doing and technology and cyber and algorithms, but we're learning. And still some of the top ICOs in terms of amount raised and ambition of the projects are in Israel.
Now, speaking of amounts raised, you guys run a big fund here at iAngels. Tell me a little bit about iAngels.
So iAngels, we started our activity about 5 years ago. We're really a hybrid platform in VC that specializes in startups in Israel. About a year ago, we founded a dedicated platform called iCapital that specializes in investments in blockchain.
Well, how much of your investments are blockchain related?
So from a business perspective, it's about 20% of our business. From a mindshare perspective, it's much, much more.
And even today, when the markets are down and everything's depressed, are you still bullish as iAngels or iCapital on blockchain?
Yes, very much. I mean, we see it more as a long-term. We think it's one of the most important themes in technology over the next decades. Definitely in the same scale as the internet in terms of the possibilities and what can be built from these technologies.
But I think we need to always have a very critical mind about the fact that it's a very, very early stage industry. And everybody's still trying to figure out how it's all going to unfold and what kind of key elements in technology are going to be needed to actually make a dent. And I think what we're going to see is a lot of the projects are not going to succeed, similarly to what we see in VC. There are going to be consolidation. There are going to be a lot of the dynamic that we know from kind of our experience in VC. And I believe that in 10 years, we'll be in a completely different reality.
We have to say that we're not investing just in crypto. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Crypto is not just blockchain, but we invest in a lot of
equity in crypto.
Equity, yeah.
So as iAngels, now with the utility token market right down, close to 60 billion, the total utility token market if you remove Ethereum, are you guys still bullish on this thing called the utility token? Are you still making investments in this asset class called the utility token?
So for a while, the whole notion of utility tokens has had issues, because on one hand, the regulator tried to protect investors, and so entrepreneurs would raise money and limit the amount of rights and protections that they would give to investors. And the biggest problem with utility tokens is that people treat them as equity in the same way that they would invest in Apple stock and expect to receive the profits of Apple over time. People would invest in utility tokens. But the issue with utility tokens is that there's no correlation between the amount of economic value that a protocol creates and the amount of value that accretes to you as a token holder. And that's still a very big issue today. And as an entrepreneur that wants to raise money, you're not allowed to raise money. Once you start talking to people about extracting value from the network, then you're already talking in security terms. And that brings you to a whole type of other vehicle.
I think currently there's still kind of like a lot of uncertainty about how it's all going to play out. So maybe, in a year or two, we'll see more of that. Currently, we're seeing a lot of equity deals.
By the way, a lot of adverse selection on the security token side. It's a lot of companies that are having struggles in cracking a business model, are unable to raise traditional VC financing, unable to justify a utility token story, and so they're trying to kind of go the security token route, which is obviously not a good thing for investors.
So let's put that all aside. We're going to go on a trip of Israel. Who can I expect to meet here, and what can I expect to see?
Well, there's so many projects that we saw over the course of the last year. Some of them we funded, and some of them we have a really strong relationship with. I think you'll see many stories, many entrepreneurs. A lot of them actually coming from years in academy, PhDs, people who are real researchers and have been active in the space for many years. I think it's very exciting. And also kind of like a young breath of fresh air of kind of like new projects, new up-and-coming entrepreneurs. I think it's going to be a very exciting trip.
So Agada's taking me around Israel. What's she like?
So first of all, I wanted to say that the meaning of her name, Agada Nemeri, means tiger legend, literally. And Agada is our fierce and tireless manager of iCapital. And she is one of the strongest figures in blockchain in Israel today. Everyone really there is to know in Israel and abroad.
Hey, Ran.
Hey, nice to see you.
So, you ready for your crypto tour in Israel?
I'm more than ready. I'm excited.
Let's go.
So we followed Agada down the famous Rothschild Boulevard, past the Independence Hall, on the street where many entrepreneurs walk every single day. This was our intro into the Israeli blockchain scene. From their offices, we went across the city to do a breakfast panel they hosted along with Orbs, a soon-to-be-launched protocol, and CoinMama, an Israeli exchange. It gives you a glimpse into the highly intertwined crypto scene here in the country.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Agada Nemeri. I'm the general manager of iCapital, which is iAngel's subsidiary focused on blockchain investments. I think the question that is on all of our minds, from the beginning of the year, we've seen a massive decline in the market. How do you see the market performing? Doing what you're doing. Learn from the best.
So I think we're looking at the whole thing completely wrong. So we're looking at this from an investor point of view, and we're saying we were at 800 billion and we went down to 200 billion, and is it all coming to an end? And I think what we've seen, we should break it up into two things. We saw an investor speculation bubble which took the market from $13 billion to $800 billion and then back down to $200 billion. But what we haven't seen is anybody actually using crypto. So we've had the investor speculation bubble. Cool, let's get that out the way. Now that the investor speculation bubble is out the way, we need to get down to serious business. And we need to actually build applications that use crypto for reasons other than speculation. And I don't mean ideas. I mean, I want to see people actually using crypto. So from the iCapital morning panel, we went to the iconic Tel Aviv beach. Then sunset, then nightfalls, when the city really buzzes. Think of it as kind of a Miami in the Middle East. And tonight, Space Mesh, one of Israel's most talked about stealth projects, invited crypto funds like Shelley's iAngels, VCs like Metastable and Arrington XRP, and even myself to talk crypto yet again.
This is my first time in Israel, so I'll just say, Sababa. I think just following the crash, one of the positives is that there still is capital and there's still serious money that's interested, and so the supply of capital is healthy in the market.
We're seeing more and more blue chip investors, people super sophisticated like Sequoia and others that are coming in and wanting to invest in the space. And every couple of months, another evolution comes out. whether it's second layer scaling solutions or the concept of security tokens or now the concept of non-fungible tokens. And for us as VC investors, it's a very encouraging sign.
So as for what's working, we know now that it's possible to have borderless money that works anywhere in the world, on which people can build businesses that operate 24/7 and can interact with anyone across borders in a trustless way. We know that works.
Congrats, Space Mesh. Thank you everybody for coming. Chag Sameach, Shana Tova, and let's drink.
The next morning, Agada went straight to the source and took us to the Space Mesh offices to talk to their CTO about the hype.
Hi, Tal.
Hi, Agada.
Well, we're here at Space Mesh with Tal Moran. Tal is one of Israel's most well-known cryptographers. Explain to me in layman's terms, what is Space Mesh?
So Space Mesh is a cryptocurrency protocol that basically gives you the three things every cryptocurrency protocol needs. It's scalable, it's secure, and it's formally proven to be secure mathematically, and it's fair. Those are what we call the trilemma, the three things we need for every cryptocurrency protocol. And it does a few things differently than the existing protocols. One, it doesn't use proof of work. And what we're doing with Space Mesh is we're basically replacing this expensive resource, the CPU work, with disk space. The idea is lots of people have basically extra disk space. When you buy a disk today, you might buy a 4 terabyte disk. You probably don't use more than, say, 1 terabyte of this disk. You can use the rest of this disk as your stake in Space Mesh.
So how do I, as a user, how do I participate?
So right now, of course, you can't participate. We're still building the system. But once mainnet is launched, what you have to do is first you have to run a program that initializes your disk. So this actually does cost some CPU work, or basically money. Right? You run your computer, say, for a few days. It fills up your disk with data. You tell it how much you want to fill up. And then you just store this data, and you run a Space Mesh node on your computer. The Space Mesh node runs in the background. It doesn't use a lot of CPU. And once every week or two, it's going to generate a block. And then you're going to get a reward for that block.
In Space Mesh tokens?
In the Space Mesh tokens, exactly.
So are you selling Space Mesh tokens at the moment? Is there a crowd
so
sale
no,
and ICO?
there's no ICO.
And so Space Mesh has been able to attract investors such as Metastable, Polychain, Argton, major investors in the field. How do you explain that?
So I think the main thing is we're different. We come from a research background. We have several world-class researchers. And we're all passionate about this space, and we know what we're doing, basically. Part of our mission is to be different. We want to actually do the right thing. And so we didn't sell it to everybody at home. We went for the people who are passionate about this space, who know about this space. And we raised just the amount of money that we think is necessary and not more.
How much did you raise?
So we raised in 2 rounds a total of $18.5 million. And we think that if you make just this huge overinvestment, you get into scam territory. And we want to avoid that.
So 18 million is supposed to get you to a point where the protocol is live and working independently of the company?
Exactly.
Basically?
So once the protocol, the mainnet starts running, it actually does not depend on the company anymore. There will be a foundation, but again, the whole point here is decentralized, and the security doesn't rely on any one company or on any one organization. If Space Mesh, after mainnet starts, goes out of business, the protocol can continue and nothing will happen.
So if our viewers want more information about Space Mesh, where can they go?
So we have a website, spacemesh.io. It has links to social media. GitHub is where the implementation is going out in the open, and all the links are there.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Mine too.
So if you want more information, go to spacemesh.io, and if you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe below.
From stealth mode, we segue to Bancor, Israel's biggest crypto project to date. The decentralized exchange that is really recreating the financial system. We met up with Eyal and Galia, their 2 founders.
Right in the middle of a dev meeting.
I hope we don't intrude.
dog.
Yeah, this is Negev, my dog. She's our Chief Happiness Officer.
Now, for the layman who's watching our show, who wants to know who this darling child of Israel is, that raised so much money and is doing such amazing things, what is Bancor?
So Bancor is a liquidity network, which means that it's a solution for converting one form of money to another, one currency to another, one token to another. So Bancor introduced a new way to allow conversion between different currencies, and that way is based on smart contracts and essentially automatic market makers that always have liquidity available but still follow the market prices. And today there are over 120 different currencies that are traded using that method.
Is this a new paradigm? Instead of having, a willing buyer, a willing seller, which has a bid and an offer on a certain token, have we actually changed the paradigm?
Yeah, you can think of Bancor a little bit like a vending machine that has inventory of all the tokens that you want inside of it. You approach the vending machine, you tell it which token you want, and you can pay with any token that is available in the machine.
How does Bancor actually make them liquid?
So if we go back to the vending machine analogy, the vending machine will always accept your wax and dispense Storm, if that's what you want.
It never runs out.
It never runs out. The thing that changes is the price that it will reflect to you of what it's going to cost you to do that trade. And so the way that it works is that the inventory that the vending machine knows that it has is what it uses to tell you what that price should be. If it has not a lot of wax in inventory, the price is going to be more expensive. If it has a lot of Storm in inventory, that price is going to be cheaper. So it's very transparent, it's very predictable. The more people buy wax, the more the price will climb up. The more people sell Storm, the more the price will climb down.
And the type of volumes that you guys are doing relative to the centralized exchanges?
So we are doing still, big volumes relative to the decentralized exchanges, but small volumes relative to the centralized exchanges.
Now, you guys raised quite a big sum of money last year. It was, I think, over $150 million?
Worth of Ether at the time.
Worth of Ether at the time. So
Right.
We'll have a discussion about that. But
Sure.
What did you need so much money for?
So it's like asking how much will it cost to replace the financial system?
But you're not replacing the financial system. You're creating a smart contract platform between multiple tokens.
A smart contract platform between multiple tokens enables an infinite number of tokens to exist. This completely changes the financial system. Today, the financial system relies on maybe 150, maybe 200 fiat currencies, national currencies that exist all over the world. They're centrally minted, they're centrally distributed, and of course, they don't make their way into everyone's hands. A system that allows money to be created from anywhere, from the bottom, from within communities, is a fundamentally different financial system.
Are you getting user adoption? Are users actually understanding this amazing liquidity platform that you guys have created? I remember in the beginning it was quite slow.
So Bancor is a fundamentally new concept. New concepts take time for folks to understand and also adopt. The Bancor network has done over $1.5 billion worth of token conversions in just the year since it's launched.
What we are providing, and this also answers your question about using the funds, is a way to do that in a user-friendly way, in a simple way, and kind of make this technology accessible to the masses. And this is where most of the work is.
Dalia, I think after a year, I finally understand how Bancor works.
Wonderful. It's about time.
So that's Bancor, and I actually finally understand it. And a reminder that if you are watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button now.
Cryptotrader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.
Today, most investors are trying to understand if institutional money will finally enter crypto. Enter Ernst & Young, the global accounting firm whose name adorns a whole building here in Tel Aviv, and is in fact contracted by some crypto companies to consult on ICO projects.
So Yoram, thank you for having us here at EY. It was quite a surprise to come to one of the big giants and talk about blockchain and crypto. Are you guys involved in blockchain and crypto?
Yes, very much so. First of all, welcome to our new offices in Tel Aviv. We've been looking at crypto asset and blockchain technology for a couple of years now. I think the notion of decentralized system quite intrigued us at the beginning. Being a huge advisory service provider, we looked at the applications that blockchain technology can be used for. And then it evolved to the use of tokens, and then it evolves, of course, to crypto asset. And then you look at the entire ecosystem, and suddenly you have a new playing field for the Israeli high-tech ecosystem to play with. So we, just enjoying being part of it.
And how big is blockchain for EY at the moment?
So I think blockchain is in very embryonic stages. It's just the beginning, and I think it's going to be humongous if you look at it now. It's my personal opinion that we're going to see blockchain capabilities and technology embedded in almost everything that we have in our life. And 20 years from now, when we're going to look back and we're going to see it, it's going to be like internet and cybersecurity. You're going to see it everywhere.
How are the regulators and legislators when it comes to blockchain here in Israel?
Okay, so the regulators everywhere, in Israel specifically, are divided. If you look at the Israeli tax authorities or any tax authority globally, they are much more advanced into that. If you look at the regulators, others in the bank regulators and the central banks, they're a bit much more hesitant about that. And it's going to take time. I think like any new revolution, changes happen. There's a lot of people coming in, early adapters, and the more the establishment go into the blockchain technology and crypto asset, we'll have more regulators going into and have more comfort in dealing with that.
How important is your relationship with the regulators? Are you guys assisting and guiding the regulators?
So I think that in the modern technology, where technology is moving so fast, regulators cannot keep up. And they need our help in creating a self-regulation in order to be able to actually help them coming to the right decision. We at EY have to deploy very strict internal regulations in order to make sure that we are doing the right things. Since we are in the wild, wild west days of the crypto assets and blockchain technology, we have to be very stringent in what we do and what we don't do. Just to make sure that we are moving forward and not backward. We cannot afford any slippage.
Now, on a personal point of view, are you holding any Bitcoin?
No.
Holding any crypto?
No.
Really?
Really.
Do you not think that as a CEO of an organization like this, you have a fiduciary duty to hold the asset, play with the asset, understand the asset?
So you asked whether I currently hold. The answer is no. Have we tried it? Do I own a wallet? The answer is yes. Is it empty? Yes. We at EY, we accept cryptocurrencies as a form of payment. We do not get any exposure on that. We just convert it into fiat and put it in the bank to pay salaries for our employees. But we do believe to a certain stage in certain of the assets, and it's going to be interesting to see how they develop.
And why aren't you holding any Bitcoin as a matter of interest? I mean, here's this big organization who you say is bought into blockchain and investing heavily, and you sound pretty bullish.
That's a question of current investment and where the market is and what do I believe in and what not. It's the same question if you're going to ask me if I hold this share or that share. It's not a question of, do I believe in the class or not believe in the class.
Yeah. Yoram, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
From Ernst & Young, Agada is taking me on an institutional tour of sorts. The big question, does Israel have the makings of a model the institutional market can follow?
So Agada, where are we?
So behind us you see the headquarters of the Israeli military.
In the middle of Tel Aviv.
In the heart of Tel Aviv. So a few years ago, they basically kicked all of the army out of here, put them in that building, renovated the whole thing. Housing, a market, there are shops here, offices, restaurants.
But we're not going shopping.
Unfortunately not. So we're going to meet Tal Morgenstern. He is the head of the Israeli office of Lightspeed. And remember, Lightspeed is a traditional VC fund managing institutional money. So interesting to listen to how they get institutional money into blockchain.
Let's go take a look. Tal, it's a great pleasure to be here. I always like to spend time with traditional funds who've gone into crypto.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I like playing the institutional type, so welcome.
So speaking of institution, tell us a little bit about your institution.
Right, so we're Lightspeed. I'm one of 3 partners located here in Israel. We have sister funds in China and India and the mothership in Menlo Park, where it all began.
And how much money are you guys managing?
So we manage, I think, around between 5 and 6 billion in total. Right now we invest out of our 12th fund, which is 1.8 billion, more or less, divided into a growth vehicle and an early stage vehicle.
Now, let's talk about your blockchain-specific investments.
Correct. Okay.
How long have you guys been investing in blockchain for?
I believe for almost 9 or 10 years now.
And today, what percentage of your funds are being invested into blockchain?
I would guess like anything from 5 to 10%, which sounds like low, right? Especially to people viewing this show when maybe 90% of their net worth is in blockchain or crypto.
Are you managing institutional money? You must be managing
Correct.
institutional
Yes.
money.
Yes.
And
the vast majority is institutional money.
so this whole thing about when are the institutions coming into crypto, what you're saying to me is that 5 to 10% of the institutional money that you're managing is already in crypto.
Right, so I would differentiate. First of all, they're already in crypto. So institutional investors are already in crypto. And for us, it's sort of like a byproduct of our general activity. It's definitely not our full focus.
So blockchain investments that you guys make, what kind of investments are you guys making?
Okay, so I think we've been active pretty much all over the spectrum. So we've done anything from mining and even ASICs or semiconductors specifically, on that end of the spectrum, all the way up to dApps. A recent example is a company called Audius, which does a streaming service, a blockchain, like censorship-resistant blockchain-based streaming service. So that's on the opposite end of the spectrum, and we've done wallets, protocol level. We've done currencies direct. As I just mentioned, we're looking at a seed opportunity now, doing something around KYC and AML.
Yeah. Now, we spoke to some other venture capitalists, and they kind of said that once they met the blockchain, they could never go back to venture capital.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
So I feel like I did this swing between again in 2009 when I was in California and kind of getting exposure to the origin story. So I feel like I went very deep into the rabbit hole on a personal level.
Are you buying Bitcoin today at $7,000?
I actually think it's besides the point, but anecdotally I did last week.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Tal, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
So everybody's talking about when finally institutional money is going to come into the system. We're about to meet Ron Goldie, who's building the infrastructure for just that.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Come on in.
Sure.
I'll show you around. We've been growing, I would say, a bit exponentially. So right now we're a bit over 56, 60 people. Let me show you the view.
Well, everybody in Israel wants to show you the view.
Why? We have no idea. Just traffic jams.
So 60 people, why do you need 60 people?
Well, it's not just one company. First group is actually a lot of different activities. We have everything from liquidity that we supply for over 50 different partners like Shapeshift or MyEther Wallet, etc. We have custodian services, we have our OTC desk, we have enterprise wallet, asset management, and research, consulting, and data. In fact, let me show you our custodian room. Now, while all the other rooms here are completely ordinary, this room has the fingerprint, which I might add I'm not actually allowed to use, so I can't go into this room. But this is where they make the cybersecurity solutions for custody.
So very disappointing that I can't get into that room.
I know, me too.
But what actually does happen there?
So that's the secret sauce of how are we protecting digital assets for institutions. What are we doing in a custodian? Institutions really want to feel safe, and this is where the magic happens. Secret sauce, so it's secret.
So let's talk about how you actually get institutions into crypto.
Follow me to my office.
So first is building a full stack of financial services to serve institutional investors.
Yep.
So what kind of services are missing currently in the system for institutional money to actually flow in?
Well, it's not just about the services per se, it's more about the trust. The institutions are running around like crazy right now, looking for custodian solutions, looking for prime brokers to work with, looking for someone to provide them liquidity that's not 10% above the spot price. It's not just, again, services, it's about finding an entity that gives them trust. Is that Coinbase? Is that Circle? Is that Octagon? Is that First?
Is it first?
I think it is. I think.
How? How is it first?
Well, I think the primary objective for us was to be as transparent and regulated as possible. That's why we started with being regulated in Europe, in Switzerland, in the UK, in the US. And I think that's what the institutions are really looking for.
So what do you see from your personal experience in First? Who is looking into it? Who is participating in the game?
Right. So the actors who are participating the most today are the very small, agile trading desks and actually algorithmic trading companies, prop trades, right? So you see jump trading, you see DRW through Cumberland that is also starting to trade. You see a lot of companies that are a lot more agile, they're already in the market. Every day we get more and more approaches from crypto VCs. Okay, we want to start a trading desk. Who can we use as custodian? Do we have a software that you recommend, etc.?
So you mentioned cybersecurity. How do you think the military background of a lot of Israeli entrepreneurs and technologists plays a part in building this new economy?
Yeah, so a great question, because we're surrounded in this floor by, I think, about 25 people who were actually with me at the intelligence unit. Where we were supposed to protect state-owned assets. We were supposed to protect the banks or any other institutions that some know their names, I'm not. We were supposed to maybe even do things that are not just protecting according to foreign press, of course. And those people were at the forefront of understanding the attack vectors, understanding how are you getting exposed and how are you protecting yourself. And I think that blockchain is, because it's still so new, those cybersecurity guys are the ones who are going to bring the breakthroughs.
That's Ran Goldie from First Digital Asset Group. Coming up, more from Israel. So if you ever bought crypto with a credit card, you probably went through these guys. Let's meet Simplex. Good to see you. So I really want our viewers to realize you're an Israeli OG in the crypto space. You founded Simplex in 2014. So if any of our viewers ever purchased Bitcoin or Ether or any crypto with their credit cards, it's through you?
Very high chance that they did, yeah. It was most likely it was facilitated through us.
So you started the company in 2014, one of the early companies in the field, especially in Israel.
So I think we're still in the very early days. I think that there are 20, maybe 30 million users in crypto in general. The crucial part is getting more money, more fiat money into the market in order for it to grow enough, right?
How do we get more fiat money into the market?
Ta-da! So I think easier on-ramp and off-ramp as well, because one of the biggest concerns for mainstream users is how do I get out of the volatile market after I did whatever I wanted to do.
It's very hard for people to buy. It's very hard to exit. And the entire financial system is not supportive of it. So, אז יש הרבה חוסר ודאות. וכל הדבר הזה כאילו, או שזה לא הולך בכיוון, למרות שזה כן נראה ככה. Well, that was the question in Hebrew, but what I was saying was that I wanted to talk about people are having a hard time buying cryptos, but they have a harder time off-ramping.
We're going to add additional payment methods, so you'll be able to on-ramp with additional ways. We're going to add in about 6 weeks or so the flip side of that, selling crypto, taking money to the credit card.
So I can off-ramp or basically sell my crypto and get my money back in fiat into my credit card that I initially paid with.
Other credit card as well, yeah. Okay. And going forward a few months, we're going to kind of consolidate all this offering into an actual Simplex account, meaning that next time that you go and buy or sell somewhere, you're able to, instead of typing in all the information of the card or the other payment method, you can just log in into Simplex and use your profile with us to handle all of that. And the more important part around that is that we'll be able to hold fiat balances for you.
Interesting. תודה נמרוד. That's it with Simplex. Keep watching Cryptotrader.
So what are we doing here?
So we're meeting Gigi Levy-Weiss. He's one of the most well-known figures in the Israeli tech ecosystem. He's had several exits, and now he's working on his blockchain venture, which I'm sure he'll tell you about.
Awesome. So excited.
Let's go. Hi, Ran, Gigi Ran. מה נשמע?
Gigi, you're a household name here in Israel. All roads lead to Gigi Levy. Who is Gigi Levy?
Well, I started my career in the Israeli Air Force as a pilot. Then, like everybody here, started my first company because you can't be anything here if you don't start your first company. Then ran some of Israel's larger tech companies. The last one that I ran was a company called 888, an online gaming company traded in London. And around 2 years ago, set up a fund in Silicon Valley in Israel called NFX, which is what I do mostly right now.
So let's not talk about your fund because then we can be here forever. Let's talk about your entry into blockchain. When did that happen?
So I think that my first play with it was around 5 years ago, buying Bitcoin. Sadly, not enough, but still buying Bitcoin. I started getting passionate about it. I always loved digital currency. I was a gamer always, and I always invested in games companies. What I like most about it is the philosophical change rather than just the money-making element. I'm a big believer in what decentralization brings. We can talk about that.
From an infrastructure point of view, what are you investing in?
So from an infrastructure point of view, clearly the last 2 years or 3 years were all about protocols.
But we're going to have multiple protocols, and some of them aren't going to survive. And I think the question that I'm trying to get to is, Gigi Levy, what is he actually investing in? What protocols are you bullish on?
So protocol-wise, as a personal holding, I've got a bunch of holding and a bunch of them. I know most of the people, so I wouldn't say in which I do and which I don't. As a startup investment, I invested in SpaceMesh, which I think is a whole new take as to what can a new protocol that's going to be more fair and it's going to basically create the right incentives rather than some of the wrong incentives that exist today. I believe in that, so that's as a startup. And then from here onwards, I don't see myself investing in more protocols.
You think we protocoled out?
I think we protocoled out. I think there's enough good teams, solid perspectives on how to do it, that are going to be solid enough to give that operating system that's required.
So what is missing?
I think what's missing is the centralized world have AWS and Azure and Google Cloud. The decentralized world has nothing. So that's one thing that we need. We need to solve distribution, right? So the central world has the App Store and Google Play and a bunch of other distribution channels. The decentralized world doesn't have right now. I think that there's a lot of the consumer side that's missing in terms of how do you discover, how do you use, how do you participate. And so these are the areas, I call them the supporting areas, right? Because there's enough people with good DApp ideas, but it's everything else that's holding them back. And I want everything else to be around so that the dApps can win.
Your top 5 holdings in your own personal crypto portfolio, what are they?
Not going to answer it.
Come on, 5 cryptos.
Not going to answer it.
Why not?
I'd rather not take that one.
Gigi, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming, Cryptotrader. So that's the institutional money at play here in Israel. Perhaps a sign of things to come worldwide. But back to building and more office buildings. Here are projects that should be on your radar. When we were in Korea, we met a company called Coty who were promising to revolutionize payments. They were based in Tel Aviv, and since we're right here, I thought we should give them a visit. Hey, how you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you. So is this where it all happens?
This is where it all happens, yes.
Shachaf, a lot of our viewers haven't seen the Korea episode where we introduced Coty to our viewers. What is Coty?
Coty stands for Currency of the Internet. We are a blockchain 3.0 company, and we have built the Trust Chain, which is the first blockchain protocol that is optimized for decentralized payments and stablecoins.
I thought all blockchains were optimized for decentralized payments.
No, they hardly are. Current blockchains usually optimize either for immutability or for decentralized computing, like Ethereum or EOS. But when you literally try to transact with them, you realize that you have problems with the scalability, transaction costs, stability, identity issues, and trust issues. So we've optimized our blockchain and created a new form of blockchain that is optimized for that, so it can be used for everyday transactions.
And when you say optimized it, what kind of protocol are you using?
So we are using direct acyclic graph, DAG data structure, and on top of it, we've built our own consensus protocol called the Trust Chain, which is based on a new mathematical procedure called proof of trust.
And how does proof of trust work?
So we are clustering transactions according to a trust score that we assign to each participant in the network. And with that, we can do parallel consensus and achieve greater scalability with lower cost.
But you must be compromising on something by getting this speed. What are you compromising on? Are you compromising on security? Are you susceptible to an attack?
With DAG, you have two disadvantages. One, it is very complicated to develop a robust system. This is why we have a grand R&D team that is dealing with that. And the second thing is, yes, you are more susceptible to what is known as a double spend attacks. We have created a new form of nodes called double spend prevention nodes that actually combats that successfully.
So let's go check out the R&D team.
Okay,
let's go.
Let's go. This here is our content and marketing team.
Awesome. Beautiful view.
Yeah, and this here is our R&D team, where we have full stack developers, back-end, front-end, data scientists and mathematicians all working on the protocol.
Awesome. So Shachaf, this is the R&D team. Talk to me about some of the features that the guys are building onto this DAG technology.
So one of the most interesting things that we've developed is our buyer-seller protection. So right now with cryptocurrencies, if you're paying with a cryptocurrency, it's irreversible. You can't charge back these transactions. One of the things that we've developed is a decentralized chargeback mechanism where people can cancel a transaction in case a product was not developed.
Now you said scalability, and that's the big question here. How many transactions per second are you talking about?
Well, right now in this room, we're already doing 10,000 transactions per second, and that is when the network is not even grown. When it will grow, scale will be almost infinite, because the only thing that will matter will be the number of participants in the network.
You're talking about 10,000 transactions per second, but is this product actually deployed at the moment? Are merchants actually using it, or are these transactions test transactions?
So the cool thing and the announcement that I want to make today is that once this show is aired, we are revealing our code on GitHub, so anybody can watch it, and we are releasing right now our net, and all of this will become public right now. In October, we are rolling out our decentralized payment network with a lot of merchants and a lot of consumers actually using the product.
So you actually have merchants that have signed up to use Koti?
More than 5,000 merchants have signed up to use Koti Pay, our decentralized payment network. And on the other hand, we already have enterprises and payment developers and payment processors that are using our protocol to develop their own applications on top of it.
Shachaf, have you guys raised money?
Yeah, we had a great demand for our first round of fundraising, where we've raised $15 million. That was a few months ago. And we will raise more money in the future. We've decided to raise funds only when our product is already launched, as part of how we see blockchain fundraising should be these days.
Great. So if our viewers want more information, or maybe even want to get involved in your next sale, where can they go?
They should go to Koti.io and contact us. We also have a very publicly known Telegram channel and a Discord channel if you're a developer. So if you want to use our protocol, go to GitHub and watch everything. It is available right now.
Great, Shachaf, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Israel has taken a very different approach to blockchain projects. Less hype and more hard work in the background. Israel has become a sandbox for onboarding of institutional investors, and this may become a model worldwide.
Okay.
Next week, we'll take a deeper dive into Israeli blockchain projects. Until then, I'll be on Twitter at Cryptoman Ran, and you should trade well, my friends.